Apes do not fuck humans.
You were very impressive, but you're taking this way too personally.
Apes do not suck.
You're so emotional!
I not start this sex, but I will finish it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of
War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, the third installment of the new Planet of the Apes rebooted trilogy. Yes, it has recently come out in the cinema, and I got back from seeing War for the Planet of the Apes, and I have to say, guys, I am absolutely fucking blown away. Fuck me. This movie is an absolute masterpiece. It is so good. I can't even begin to tell you how good it is. And I'm not going to go into too much detail with this review because I want you guys to see it. I want you to see what it's all about. So go and see it. But I will obviously go over a few things of what I liked, what I didn't like. The plot, in brief, of War for the Planet of the Apes. I'm just going to read the description off IMDb because I do not want to spoil anything in this movie. This is a non-spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie, you can watch this. If you have seen the movie, you can also watch this. I'm not going to do a spoiler talk because I don't feel it's necessary. Okay, so the plot is, after the apes suffer unimaginable losses, Caesar wrestles with his darker instincts and begins his own mythic quest to avenge his kind. And that is essentially your plot of War for the Planet of the Apes. Yep, this movie's fantastic. It really is. I mean, a bit of background on this. I got into Planet of the Apes around the time of Rise, when that was coming out, so I decided to watch the original 5 movies, and the first movie I really enjoyed. I think that's a really great film. The second one was good, if a bit weird. The third one was better, it was a lot of fun. The fourth was alright, the fifth was terrible, and the Tim Burton one was pretty shit. So, yeah, and then we got Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which was brilliant, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is even better. And now we get War for the Planet of the Apes, which, in my opinion, is the best of the trilogy. This movie is even better than Dawn. How did they do it? Matt Reeves, how the fuck did you do it? You're a genius. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was sitting there the whole time, just in complete awe. You know, I wasn't geeking out or anything. I was just sitting there like, my jaw was dropped. I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe this. And it stunned me. It was a stunning film. Absolutely stunning. You know, just wow. I mean, first of all, let's get this out of the way. It looks fantastic. The cinematography is beautiful. It is beautifully shot. The visual effects look great. How did the effects look even better than Rise and Dawn? And Dawn only came out 3 years ago. How have the effects improved so much? The attention to detail in Caesar's face and in all the apes. Fantastic. It is literally as if they are actually there. It's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. I don't know how they did it, but they did a great job. And, you know, hats off to Andy Serkis, who, you know, really does deserve an Oscar. The amount of work he's done for motion capture, what he has done for motion capture, has changed the film industry. It really has. His work on Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and now this, you know, and King Kong. You know, the guy is amazing, and he really deserves the Academy's recognition, and thanks for that. At least a special contribution. If he doesn't get Best Actor, you know, he should get some kind of contribution award for his services, because the guy is so talented, and you know, everything, the voice, the physicality, you actually believe he's there, and in Caesar's face you can sort of see Andy Serkis, which is absolutely fantastic. What I love about this movie most is that it's just so gripping from start to finish. It is intense as fuck. It's just building and building and building and building and building until we get to the climax. I mean, I will say that the climax isn't as action-packed as I initially thought it would be, but it's still a great climax. But don't be misled by the title. The war is not as huge as it is made out to be. So don't expect something on the level of like Lord of the Rings epic. It's still pretty awesome though, for what it is. But I love that there's so much tension. The story's building and building and building. You know, this movie, there's so much that happens in it. There's just so much tension. People die. It gets really brutal. That was what surprised me the most, is how brutal it is. There are scenes in this movie where apes get whipped in the prison, and I'm just sitting there going like, fuck, you know, it's horrible. It's harrowing to watch. It has a feeling of like, it has such a horrible feeling when you're watching it, but it works so well. And Woody Harrelson's in this movie. He plays the Colonel. He is fantastic in this movie. It's a great performance. He's not on screen as much as I thought he was going to be, but I didn't mind that. It took a while to get to him, and we would see him at the beginning, and then we would forget about him for a bit until later on. But when we actually find out more about his character, when he sort of gives his backstory, I'm like, oh my gosh. There's kind of a connection between him and Caesar. I won't go into detail, but he kind of... him and Caesar almost come from two sides of the same coin, but just in a different context, which is clever. The writing is amazing. This film is written superbly, and Matt Reeves directed it absolutely phenomenally. You know, Matt Reeves is a perfect director. He's now one of my favourite directors. He really is. And, you know, it's just so good. We also have this little girl who's in the movie. Her name is Nova. And now if you're a Planet of the Apes fan, you will remember that Nova is actually a character in the original first two films, Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes. She was growing up in that movie, but in this movie, essentially it serves as more of a prequel to the first film, which obviously, as far as the plot's concerned, as far as the ending is concerned, it pretty much could lead into the first one. So this trilogy is almost like a prequel trilogy to the original series, as well as it being a reboot. I think it's awesome the way it does that, and the fact that the little girl Nova, you know, she's brave, she accompanies them, she's so sweet, and she forms an attachment with one of the gorillas known as Luca, which is beautiful. It's a very brief moment in the movie, but it is beautiful. And you know, the fact that she doesn't really have any lines to say, and she's able to convey so much emotion, like, 'cause she can't speak. It's fantastic. You know, she's really, really great. And I think the story is incredible. It's written so well. The drama's so well thought out, and the plot's clever. There's many twists and turns. It'll keep you guessing. You know, the fact that there's not as much action as the title would have you believe, don't let that throw you, because there is so much that goes on. You know, war doesn't just necessarily mean the big action fight that goes down at the end. There is that, but there is also the drama, the ongoing political war about, you know, basically it's the you know, the freedom to fight, the fight for survival, and that's what this movie's about. It's about the fight to survive in a society where we can't coexist anymore. You know, they're just doing what they can to survive, and this is taking it to the extreme. I feel like the first two films have built up to this. It's, you know, we're seeing Caesar and the Colonel do everything they can to the extreme to survive. And, you know, when all the apes get thrown in prison, I didn't expect that, and there was a genuinely great moment when they're trying to decide how to break out of prison. The movie never fails in tension. It's a very long film. It's 2 hours 20 minutes, so it's the longest of the trilogy. It's actually the longest Planet of the Apes movie. It's very long. It is a bit of a slow burner. It does take its time at the beginning, when, you know, when they're going on the quest to find the Colonel, after a tragic event happens regarding Caesar and the Colonel, and then when they find Nova, of course, and they bring her along. And I really like what they did with Maurice in this movie. Maurice is a character. Look out for some surprise moments there. It's funny how they're all living in this apocalyptic world now, and there's actually a moment where somebody's drawn the word inside this tunnel called Ape Apocalypse. Beware of the Ape Apocalypse, which I think is quite good. If this movie wasn't called War for the Planet of the Apes, it would have been called Planet of the Ape Apocalypse, which is great. Said that the motion capture work is just stunning and is just wonderful, and also there's a nice little connection with Caesar's son Cornelius, very young Cornelius. So like I said, this movie is a prequel essentially to the first movie. Cornelius is a young baby. By the very end of the movie, you'll see, oh, okay, I can see how this leads into the first one, just by nature of where they are. And the movie's ending is very emotional. This movie's emotionally satisfying throughout. It's emotionally draining, it's brutal, and it's shocking in many places. It takes the tonally, it is so dark. And this is a Planet of the Apes movie, and it had the balls to go dark. Really dark. I mean, Dawn was a bit darker than Rise, but it still had its moments of light relief. But this has gone even further, and it's perfect. I mean, yeah, there's not as many human characters as before, but I think that works. Woody Harrelson, obviously, being the main antagonist. There's also another character they throw in for comic relief. He's known as Bad Ape. He's very funny. At first, you kind of think, okay, he's going to get on my nerves a bit, but actually, he's turned out to be very funny, and his moments of comedy aren't forced. They are light, and they're fine, they're subtle, and they offer some light relief, which I think is perfect and definitely elevates the movie somewhat. And I like the fact also that Caesar is also, he's being haunted by the death of Koba, because obviously, if you remember in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, spoiler alert for Dawn, Caesar let Koba fall to his death in the second film. So now in this movie, Koba's coming back to haunt him, which I thought was really interesting. There's just so much going on in this movie that I can't tell you anymore. I feel like, it's really something special. You just got to see it. You just got to see it to really believe it. And it's a masterpiece. I also think that the score by Michael Giacchino, I mean, this guy gets around. How does he get so much work? It's amazing. His music score was superb. I really did like the themes here, particularly Nova's theme, which you hear in the credits. It's like a piano medley. It's really, really, really sweet, and all the deaths really hit home. They're very emotionally satisfying. The movie's dramatic as fuck, and you're just sitting there. So I was glued to the screen for 2 hours 20 minutes. I really was, and yeah, it took its time, but it was so worth it. It is by far the best of the trilogy, and it's quite possibly the best of the Planet of the Apes franchise. It kind of reminded me of Logan in a way, which sounds strange, but because of its brutal nature, it kind of had a similar tone to Logan. And in the same way of the fate of a certain character in Logan ends, this kind of follows in... Well, I wouldn't say follows, this kind of... The fate of a certain character in this movie reminded me of the fate of a certain character in that movie. I can't say any more than that, otherwise I'll be spoiling it. And it's visually stunning. This is like the most visually stunning movie since its predecessor. It's one of the most visually stunning movies of the year, and it's one of my favourite movies of the year, if not my favourite. I absolutely adored it, and the action is absolutely incredible. It's epic as hell. The opening is great. I also liked the character of Winter. I thought he was interesting. How he sort of betrays the apes, and then Caesar's. Interesting how Caesar is in this movie. Caesar's very much, older, more tired. He's weak. We see him at his lowest low. He's being tortured. He's angry. He's emotional. Pretty much, he's been stripped down to nothing. He's nearly lost everything in this movie, and to see him complete his journey, I think is very satisfying and very sad. And I like this. It's a perfect ending to the trilogy, and if this is the last Planet of the Apes movie, they have done a superb job sending this off, because you can watch these 3 movies and then go to the original movies. Forget the Tim Burton one. You don't need that. So, that's really all I can say about this movie. I am going to score War for the Planet of the Apes a definite 10 out of 10. Question a 10 out of 10. You know, it is superb. It is absolutely superb. And I am very pleased to say that we now have one of the greatest trilogies ever made. The Planet of the Apes rebooted trilogy. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, brilliant. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, brilliant, even better. And War for the Planet of the Apes, even better than that. So, wow. Wow. Just simply stunning. Absolutely. I mean, if they do another movie, then I look forward to that. If not, then well done, guys. You did a superb job. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend you go and see this movie. It is absolutely brilliant. It's so worth your money and time. Matt Reeves, you are fantastic. The script is just amazing. These are the sort of movies I love, with great dramatic weight to them. You just don't get movies like this anymore. You know, too many things are reliant on cinematic universes and, you know, franchising. You know, telling a good story is sometimes okay. So this movie did it well, really, really well, and I think I'm going to go and see it again. I saw it with a friend, so I think I'm going to try and take my mum to see it, because my mum likes Planet of the Apes. So yeah, I plan to do that. So that's that. What's your ranking of the Planet of the Apes movies? Please put your comments down below, let me know. Stay tuned when I do my updated ranking of all 9 Planet of the Apes movies. So yeah, until then, thank you guys all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.